Hey, everybody, welcome back to Think Business Live. I'm looking forward to talking with AnneMarie Johnson. AnneMarie, great to see you.
See you too.
Looking forward to talking to with you about your company, Teacher2Teacher Help. You are in the business of growing readers, cultivating writers, and such soulful work empowering teachers. And today, I think we're coming out of this last year and a half specifically where teachers needed extra empowerment. It's been hard for teachers, and I think continues to be really hard. So I'm looking forward to kind of jumping in and talking to you about your company, Teacher2Teacher Help. You provide strategies, and I want to talk about the word empowerment first as we kind of kick off, because I think everybody's looking for extra empowerment these days, right? We're kind of drudging through COVID, and teachers empower so many people. So talk to me about empowerment and what that looks like from your lens.
So I guess when I think about empowering teachers, I think about what my main goal is, and that is reaching students. And I started out as an elementary teacher for 15 years before moving into a role of literacy specialist, consultant. And my goal always was just to grow really passionate and proficient readers and writers. And I had to do a lot of it on my own. I didn't have someone there to encourage me. I sought out mentors. I found people that helped me with that, but it wasn't just right there. And it wasn't always in quality professional development. And so when I moved into this role of being able to reach more children than the 25 or 30 in my classroom, I thought, well, how am I going to do this? I'm going to do this by providing for teachers what I never had. I want to be for them what, like that person that I sought out. So empowering them means encouraging them. It means helping them see possibilities. When you're a teacher, you are inside four walls of your classroom, and you don't even know what's happening across the hall. I heard someone say once that he came from the business world and he was in cubicles and he could hear every phone conversation. He could hear everything that people were saying. And then when he went into the classroom, he realized, I'm in here doing this all by myself. And there are people down the hall that could help me, and there just aren't opportunities. So I because I'm in so many classrooms and get to work with so many teachers, one way that I empower teachers is by showing them possibilities of all these amazing things that are happening outside their classroom, so that maybe they can be inspired to do it in their classroom. So kind of connecting them to best practices and other people that they can't do on their own.
Yeah. I love everything that you just talked about, opening up the lens and kind of taking down the walls of what's going on in not only their classroom and throughout their school, but all schools that you're in. And when you're talking about, providing teachers what you never had, there's always, the beautiful part of, that's, taking the struggle and then creating a business out of it, right? Creating something that can help somebody's life and accelerate everything they're doing. And so we're in a time right now where I think a lot of people are looking for those slivers of opportunity where they can take their skill set and create a business out of it. We saw 4 million people left their jobs in April. We're hearing of the millennial generation getting ready to, start a lot of their own businesses. And so kind of take the Think community to kind of the sliver when you realized, hey, I wish I had this, and now I'm going to create a business providing it to others.
I never set out to create a business. I still just think of myself as a teacher, and I just have a different platform now. So the business part happened to me. I didn't create it. It has just kind of evolved. So now I'm thinking about it, I think retrospectively, and thinking about, oh, wow, I really am starting a new business. like I've been telling people, I'm in my third career right now. My first career was an elementary school teacher. My second career was a literacy consultant traveling, around the country to schools, doing all face-to-face professional development. This third phase now, thank you, pandemic, really pushed me into this, is I'm still providing professional development, but I'm doing it in a completely different way. And it has forced me, encouraged me, I don't know, pushed me into turning it into a business. And so now that's been like my latest learning is I'm not a business person. How do I create a business?
It's interesting. You say you're not a business person, but I know a lot of teachers that end up being phenomenal business people / leaders because they're used to having to communicate things in a way that an entire classroom and individuals can understand them. And I think for many leaders, that's the hardest part of being a business owner and a leader is articulating their vision and their message. And so, your vision is very tight, right? Growing readers, cultivating writers, empowering teachers, right? Under the umbrella of your company, Teacher2Teacher Help. And so as you realized you had a business, how did you then begin to grow the business? What were those first one or two steps?
Mm-hmm. Well, there was something in between those first one or two steps, because on March 11th, 2020, I was in a school planning for the next time that I was going to be in that school. And that was the last day that I was in a school for almost a year. And so when I wasn't able to be in schools anymore because I'm not an employee of a school. So I was not, even when they went back face to face, I wasn't invited back in for a while. I thought, what I do is teach. I love teaching. Maybe I could go into the business world and actually be part of a training and development, department. And I actually started looking into that. Like maybe I just need to pivot. And so in between creating this current business that I have, I was looking at doing that because I know I'm just good at teaching everything. It doesn't matter what it is. But then as I went further into it, I'm like, but that's not what my passion is. My passion, lifelong passion, has been teaching people how to read and write. And so there was that little blip of time in between. That was my first step. And so I just had to come to terms with that's not going to be what I do. I mean, maybe I will do that sometime in the future, but for right now, I thought, no, I have to go back to what I know, but mostly what I love. And so that part was actually easy then. People talk about creating online courses and all of that and how hard that is to do it. That's so easy for me. Like the creating the courses. I mean, that's what I was doing this morning. Just spent 2 hours, creating videos for that. So now I think my challenge right now, it's how I met you, is I know what to teach. I know how to teach. I know the people. I know what they need. It's how do you create a business? And so that's still developing.
Well, as you continue to build your business, and I know it's thriving, I just want to go back a little bit further and rewind a little bit to when you really knew what your passion was. I think we're in a time right now where people are really looking to find their passion. And, for me, I knew business coaching was my passion. The day when I was 18, my dad gave me a set of tape sets, The Psychology of Success. I put it on my ears. I knew I wanted to be a business coach, write books, help companies grow of all shapes and sizes. And so it's been a passion of mine forever. And so take me back, take the Think community back to where you realized, hey, this is my passion, right? Because I think everybody right now is kind of looking to get in a deeper alignment with their soul and their passion, because that's going to set the course of kind of this post-pandemic fulfillment.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because I could go back to several pivotal times, but I think if I go back the earliest, when I was 3, 4, 5 years old, I couldn't wait to learn how to read. I absolutely wanted to learn how to read. And my mom kept saying to me, when you go to school, you'll learn how to read. When you go to school, you'll learn how to read. So I had this in my mind that the day I started school, I would learn how to read. And I remember, it's a very clear memory of mine, getting off the bus the first day of school,
Yeah.
bursting into tears. I loved school, but
Yeah.
I was angry at my mom that
Right.
she told me I was going to learn to read, and I didn't. And then what happened was learning to read was actually kind of a hard process. Not hard, like it wasn't hard for me to learn to read, but it was long and boring and it was awful until I started getting connected with like real books. So that was a pivotal point. But now fast forward, my first year of teaching, I'm in an inner city school. I'm teaching second graders who are all, not one single one was on the second grade reading level. And I looked at those students and I thought, they don't have parents who are taking them to the library. They don't have all the advantages that I had happening outside of school. Reading was really boring for me at school because there was a disconnect. It was just this thing that you had to do. And now I'm in my first classroom. I'm 22 years old, and I'm doing the same thing with my students that was done to me. And I had this light bulb moment that reading is everything to me. I want it to be everything for my students. I want it to be their ticket out of poverty, but I can't teach my students the same way that I was taught because they're not going home and many of my students' parents didn't even graduate from high school. So I couldn't rely on what was happening there. And then that set the course for me because I thought that year I either have to quit teaching and find something else to do because I'm not effective, or I have to figure out how to teach kids to read. And so I'd say it's those two things. It was my strong desire as a child to learn how to read and being disengaged with what reading looked like at school, still loving reading, but then getting into my classroom and finding out that I wasn't doing anything to help my students. So that's been 35 years worth of, that's my whole mission, is to help kids love reading, writing, and be good at it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love hearing people's backstory, and, it reminds me of my daughter's 15, but when she was 1.5, 2 years old, we were buying her books because she loved to learn. She just loved to study and all of that. And she still does, she still loves learning. Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for sharing that. I think, stories like that allow people to kind of sit back and listen and tap into their own story, and go back and really kind of settle in and surrender to, I think, help find their own passion. And I really do believe fulfillment is something that is front and center. One of my favorite quotes by Tony Robbins is, "Success without fulfillment equals failure." And I think we have a society that is looking for fulfillment today. So I appreciate you sharing that story.
Well, and just putting my teacher hat back on, something that I am really intentional about with teachers that I work with now, and it's something I wish I had done more of with my own students, is you can see what some students, like what they're going to become when they are 5, 6, 7 years old, if we cultivate their passion. So when you ask me that question, my passion started when I was very young. I look at my own 3 children, their passion started when they were very young. I didn't know what they were going to turn into, but now that they're young adults, I can look back and see, wow, did I cultivate those in the best way? And more, I guess, more to the point is my students. I'm not sure. I did that with some students, but I don't know if I did it with all of them. And so that's advice that I now give to teachers. Make sure that's part of your day. Finding books that they want to read about, that they're passionate about. It doesn't matter what the topic is. It's more important that you're cultivating what they might become someday through books.
And how does a teacher do that today when they've got a class of 30 some kids? Teachers today, I think many teachers, have to teach to the middle. Kids have masks on today. How do they kind of look at their time and allocate it, and how do they do that today effectively?
So this is actually something that I teach teachers to do just informally, is just listen. So times that you listen are when they walk in the door in the morning, when they are putting their boots on, when they're getting ready for lunch. They're having these conversations with each other, and they're talking about things that are happening in their lives. And when we listen in on those, we get a window into what we can have them read about and write about. And so it doesn't take any extra time. It just takes being really aware. So when, I get this question all the time, our kids, they just spend all their time on video games. They don't have anything to write about. They don't want to write. Like, oh, that is so not true. Whatever they're living, if they're living their lives, they have things that they're interested in beyond just video games. Yes, that would be what they do a lot, but everyone has stories. Everyone has things that make them sad, make them angry, make them happy. But we're going to know that by just eavesdropping, listening in on their conversations. And then you come in the next day and you say, I saw this book. It made me think of you. I heard you talking about whatever, an animal or whatever. And you put it on their desk with a sticky note and says, made me think of you.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And then you make those connections.
I love it. And that advice it's so simple, it's complicated, right? Just paying attention to the moments when, I think kids are just speaking freely, right? And where they don't feel like they're like in school in those moments that you kind of highlighted and outlined. And I love that. I love that. Yeah. It's like hidden in plain sight. It's right. It's right there. You don't have to do extra work. You just have to pay attention when they're in their elements, right? When they're in their natural element. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love that because I think it's those moments that you're talking about, which is why I think your business is so special. And as a teacher, I'm sure you were such a special teacher. In those moments, the kids don't expect you to know something about them or reach out. And I think kids are really impacted by teachers in so many ways, but specifically when they know something about them that they just didn't think they knew, and they can bring out their best in them, like you're talking about. Teachers have tremendous power. I've had amazing teachers in my life that have been so amazing. And anyway, okay. So now let's talk about your business, right? So tell everybody who your ideal clients are and what you really do for them.
So, I work with elementary schools. Well, really, I have 2 colleagues now. So between the 3 of us, we focus on kindergarten through 8th grade, focusing on literacy specifically. And we provide professional development to, sometimes it's focusing just on reading. Sometimes it's just on writing. My favorite is when we're working on all of it through like a balanced literacy approach where we're addressing all of the components of literacy. And it used to be that I just went in and I did a 1-day seminar or a half-day seminar, or I have a couple companies that I work with and do conferences. But what we're doing now is do a lot more online professional development. And I would not have thought that I'd like that before, not for me or for the teachers, but it's actually turned into a win-win because when I go do face-to-face, I'm there for 6 hours and I leave. And if you weren't able to get substitute teachers that day and the classes weren't covered, then teachers miss it. If you have new staff members who join partway through the year or partway into a 3 or 5 year initiative, they miss out. And so what we realized was, because of having to shift the nature of our work, that by providing virtual professional development, partnered with coaching too, but providing the professional development so that they could go and watch it again and again. They can watch it year after year. They can differentiate for the different staff members who need different things. It's actually opened up a whole new world for our clients and for us. And, I got out of the classroom not on purpose, but when I did, I realized I could impact thousands of kids a year. Now, you can multiply that even more because I can only be, I'll give you an example. On January 4th, I was in 2 schools at the same time, one on Zoom live and one with pre-recorded. With just a follow-up Q&A. And so that's many, many more students that I can impact this way. Yeah. And that's why I do this. That's the whole reason I'm doing this.
I love it. The world is your classroom. And you can impact so many people with the work that you're doing. I love it. All right, AnneMarie, you ready for a quick speed round?
Sure.
Favorite book and why?
Oh my goodness. You're going to ask a literacy consultant favorite book. Gosh, I usually read like 5 to 8 books at a time. So
I do the same.
Yeah. So, and then it's usually like, I would say my favorite book is usually like ones that I've recently read. Actually, I have a couple sitting right here. So I am currently reading The Choice. This is a memoir by a Holocaust survivor. And I'm only halfway through it, but I can already tell you this is going to be one of my favorite books because the subtitle is Embrace the Possible. And it's all about making choices with, with no matter what happens in your life. But actually, you know what? I'm going to say something else. So the teacher in me is going to come out. So one thing that I talk to teachers about is their finding their home run book and then helping their students find their home run book. So my home run book, when I was in 3rd grade, I read a biography of Helen Keller. Actually, here. I know podcast people won't hear it, but you can see this. Yeah. This is my original copy of Helen Keller that I got when I was in 3rd grade. This is a home run book because after I read this book, I wanted to read more books by Helen Keller. Ran out of those books. I read about her teacher, Annie Sullivan. Then I read biographies of other like strong women. And then that turned into biographies of men. So one book propelled me into all these other books. So I always encourage people to think about like, what was your home run book? Yeah. Book by an author. So I'm going to say that one.
I love it. My home run book was, I would say, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill and Seed of the Soul by Gary Zukav.
Mm-hmm. And so I recently heard you talk about with another guest that Think and Grow Rich. So I just downloaded it and I've started.
Oh, did you? Yeah. You'll love it. You'll love
on
it.
Her recommendation.
Yeah. And I would also say the book Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Brian Weiss. It was a home run book for me. Mm-hmm. It was amazing. Yeah. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Best piece of wisdom. I don't know if this is wisdom, but I took it as wisdom. I'm thinking of 2 different things. I'll quickly share both of them. So one was my grandma. I think I've shared this with you before. When my grandma was almost 90 years old, 2 months before she died, she said to me, she like put her hand over her heart and said, "In my heart, I've never felt older than 30.
Yeah.
And I remember taking it. She wasn't saying that as advice, but I took it as advice. And then I have a colleague who years ago used this phrase, learning for the sake of others.
Yeah.
And again, it was just a phrase, but I've taken that as my own personal advice. That's what I do. I learn massive amounts of information for teachers because they don't have time to do it. And so I learn it for them and then break it down so that they can apply it.
Yeah. I do the same thing as a business coach. I love that. Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm addicted to studying. And so I can help my clients, give them the tips that I'm reading. Cause like you, I read like 5, 6, 7, 8 books at a time because I'm always getting nuggets. I love what you just shared. I interviewed somebody yesterday and he said something interesting. He said, you never want to be a know-it-all, but you always want to be a learn-it-all.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Yes. I liked it too. Yeah, I liked it too. So I love that. Last question, AnneMarie. How can everybody, no matter what career, what business they're in, how can everybody be a better teacher? And how can everybody be a better student?
Oh, okay. So I actually teach this too. So I teach this all the time. So what you need to do is spy on yourself as a learner and say, what are the steps that I've gone through to do this? And so I talk to teachers about skills versus strategies. When you're skilled at something, you don't need a strategy to help you get there. You're just skilled. You're doing it. So in order to be a really great teacher, you have to spy on what you are really skilled at and then imagine what the step-by-step strategies are. And then you break it down for your students. You recreate those step-by-steps.
Yeah.
So that would be my best.
I love it.
It doesn't matter what you're teaching and it doesn't matter what arena.
I'll say
yourself and then break it down.
I love that. And I'm going to make one comment on that too. And then I want to there's something called the curse of knowledge. I don't know if have you heard of the curse of knowledge. It's kind of like this philosophy that, 1 through 10, sometimes people try to make everything a 10, right? Like just over explain and do too much, but really people buy and comprehend at a 1 or a 2. And so what they say is if you know a lot and you're giving people a 10, it's too much. You lose them, and you lose them actually from a 3 to a 7. Break it down step by step so it's easily digestible in that 1 or 2 space. So I just wanted to kind of frame another way for people to hear that, because I think people need, especially in today's world, people have a less attention span than a goldfish of 7 seconds. They need things broken down for them. So you take the thinking out and give them the easy, what I would call USA Today, left side of the Wall Street Journal tutorial, step by step.
And it doesn't mean you're dumbing down the work. You're just making the application of really big work more doable, because people get overwhelmed with seeing all of the stuff that you have to accomplish. And I guess that's a comment that I get so often is, oh, wow, I get it now. You made this and I'm excited about trying this now. But they're excited because they can see that it's possible. Yeah,
I love it. I love it. This has been great. AnneMarie, I appreciate it. Tell everybody again who your ideal clients are and how they can connect with you.
So my ideal clients are just schools and districts that want to improve literacy for all of their students by empowering their teachers with knowledge and best practices in literacy instruction.
That's great. Well, I appreciate the wisdom. I appreciate the soulful work that you're doing to help teachers and empower them to empower students and to empower so many people. The ripple effect of what you do is so huge, and I'm very grateful for it. And thank you for everything you do. Think community, if you or anybody can use AnneMarie, please reach out. Her website is teacherhelp.com. You can find her there. And any closing words, AnneMarie?
No, I thank you for the opportunity. This is not an arena that I ever imagined myself being in. I'm used to being in classrooms, not in the business world. So it's kind of exciting.
Yeah. Well, you did great. Thanks for everything. Think community, appreciate you all. AnneMarie, thanks so much. That was great.
Thank you.